Money is as innocent as the gun, a recurring abstraction, bringing everything under one. This innocence, it cannot see the difference between how children thrive and how they just stay alive. Money is as innocent as the gun, an adhering predation, so for to worship a one. This innocence, it cannot hear the difference between a first word spoke and a last farewell, unvoiced joke. Sacrifice is agitation. Water wishes water like dust to dust. The sun has got his hat on. Is it made of the earth's crust? Money, the conspiracy that has us believing that we are the theory not to be believed. Our credibility relieved of its duty to make believe our truth is beauty. Not just to be seen, to behold, but to be cherished in the common fold. Have we been dangling so long on the end of this line that we've been sold that there's no such thing as the common fold, that we can no longer be bold now that life is the penalty? If life is a penalty, are we really dying? Or just living? And if giving is receiving, can we make the truth and stop believing money the conspiracy? Money, a performance-enhancing substance taken in our absence that's put us in our place in the closing stages of our race. And it must have felt so much like it all just begun after that last world peace was won. Never again for money to reign in the absolute, with a power to mute, to degrade, to starve into submission, decency, dignity, humanity, for the sake of money's silent partner, capitalist fascism. Money, the conspiracy. Okay, I know that's not quite correct, but it does rhyme with alibi. It wasn't you or me, how could it be we, and surely not I? We're the species of the alibi, from totemic mitigation through prophetic inspiration to money circulation. It's not you or me, how could it be we, and surely not I? Money, the conspiracy, an abstract surrogacy, the mother we never had. Oh, well, nature never what it does, not really. She's a bit touchy-feely. Joke. Money, the conspiracy. The final frontier of theory is not to be believed. I dare you. I will if you will. Can it be as difficult as it seems for a species self-domesticating through our shared waking dreams, where shadows cast figures and smoke without fire fuels our schemes? Money, the conspiracy. As theories go, I've heard worse. Would you believe me if I told you it was the premise of a prize-winning verse? First prize, a publishing deal. Some financial security at last. How does that feel? I got the contract in the post the other day. I don't know how many times I read it. I thought I might bring it here to read to you today, but I didn't. No, I tore it up and I threw it away. Why? Well, I would like to say it was a matter of conscience and consistency, not having those words possessed by money's conspiracy, but if I told you that, I will be fibbing. Because what it was, you see, this prize-winning verse was full of metaphors of keeping the wolf from these shores. And this contract had a clause, a metaphor's clause. If any metaphors turned out to be fact, end of contract. And how was I supposed to know that some, well, what year is it? 2022, some 43 years ago, the wolf had actually been reintroduced to these shores. Talk about last straws. I'm up for that, but I really think we should stop sucking through them anymore. I thought if I could find out who was to blame for the reintroduction of the wolf to these shores, there might be a loss of earnings claim. I visited the offices of one of those firms, you see, advertised on the TV. No win, no fee. Office, it was a facade. A familiar-looking gentleman came in. He had the air of the Marquis de Sade. But he wasn't. Whew. He gave me his card. Mr. S. Holmes, Sherlock. He gestured, he offered, he tied me to a chair. Started talking to me, as you'd expect, like I wasn't quite all there, but looking deep into my eyes with this imperious werewolf stare and talking in a voice that didn't sound like him. And I'm not saying that just because I can't do the impersonation. You got that cockamamie, everyone's against me, self-flagellating theory look in your eyes. Have I? or conspiracy and lies, I'll spare thee the whys and wherefores. The wolf reintroduced to these shores, I'll surely be guessed to replies that rampant lion, with something indigenous on all fours, with teeth and fur, but not claws. Wolves don't have claws. Wolves don't have claws. But, I said, with a certain amount of trepidation, like lions, wolves do have paws. No, not paws. Bumble. Paws! He gestured for me to hand him my mobile. I did. He put my mobile and his mobile in a soundproof box. His voice, his whole demeanour changed. He said, I'm awfully sorry to come across there like some kind of self-hating Zionist, werewolf, Israeli apartheidist. I'm not like that in the least. It's a BBC-friendly pretense I'm having to maintain in case of any surveillance. Surveillance? Anyway, he said I might have a claim. Really, the wolf was reintroduced to these shores, but not literally. It was an attempt by the establishment all those years ago to reduce the figures of poverty on these islands to an all-time low. Figuratively, the wolf wasn't actually released into public parks, housing estates, or the urban wild, no. Such places a lone parent or carer would always accompany a child, and the poor? Well, the wolf, you see, can't be relied upon in the reduction of adult poverty. The prowess of the wolf is somewhat fabled, unless that adult was not in a union, alone, weak with hunger and or disabled, and stories spread of impoverished parents carrying out acts of selfless heroism. Whoa, that can't be allowed, can it? That might create some kind of moral ideological prism. The poor shone in such a light, it might insight fulfill, minds awash with newspaper ink swill, and who knows what such insight might instill. It might place in jeopardy this unwritten policy, vis-a-vis a chord might be struck that resonates back to that stand that we took alone when European fascism was gaining currency. Alone we faced invasion, ruin and bankruptcy. A people not too big to fail. No financial institutions forthcoming with rescue package solutions for to bail. It's hard to say. It's going to be difficult to hear, but it would appear that it was neither here nor there to this money if we did or didn't prevail. But prevail we did, and the dollar accrued enough leverage to screw down tight that lid on the old world empires of racial persecution and supremacy with a post-war policy of dictatorships for democracy when it suited. And with peace at last came a loss of patience en masse, with money's license to pass off them as us and us as them, until peace at last recast the shadow of that incredulous class. Pardon? The common good? Isn't that an oxymoron? And with peace at last came a loss of patience en masse, with money's license to pass off peace as war, and war as peace, still a binding lease with so many prices to pay, just one that gives the right to say, a people's war begets a people's peace. Loud and proud, that phrase can be heard in those 2 minutes without a word. At the annual memory letting stone, 2 minutes silence downloadable as a ringtone. Excuse me. Sorry, I think we should answer that. Because if sacrifice is money's antithesis beyond measures praxis, then sacrifice was the axis on which that story turned. Our actions spurned alibis, reflections, to follow dignity's directions. So the wolf made itself scarce in layers offshore, salivating for money's more, money's more, money's more. Tides not yet rising, no, for money's more, money's more. Across the pond waited, breath baited, the wolf laid in wait for that sense of wartime predation to abate. And the wolf laid in wait for a generation to translate sacrifice through pomp and ceremony's bait. Pitter-patter, pitter-patter. Pitter-patter echoed those paws to the banks, the courts, the orphanages, the government's corridors. I heard the royal prerogative is used to get around those draconian child protection rules, and wolves were released into schools, not all schools of course, that might lead to a spate of divorce amongst certain MPs. They can deal with that exemption being used to increase school fees, because what is money for, if not to keep the wolf from money's door? Pitter-patter, pitter-patter, those sacrifices that were made. Did they have a half-life of 30-odd years before they began to fade into a background sound only to be heard in those 2 minutes without a comrades in arms? In the mouths of our leaders, minus the munitions, that expression quickly begins to lose its charms. Comrades in arms, they relish that phrase, and how it embalms heroism's inflamed cooperation as war, just as war, as nation, just as nation. agitation of sacrifice. To agitate, to obligate, to agitate, to generate a generation, to create this never again land. Isn't that the sea? Steady. Because if sacrifice is money's antithesis, beyond measures praxis, then sacrifice is the axis on which our story turns. A generation learns and forgets, learns and lets go of now. That difficult time that we're not ready to face. Whoa, not yet, not now. Let's remember how it was when it wasn't now. Yes! Oh, just me then. When it wasn't a time of regret. Remembering wasn't done to forget. It was how the present and the future met. In a resonance of remembrance beyond ceremony, shared loss is antidote to peace and war's alchemy. Let's remember to breathe in, to breathe out, to breathe in, to share. Our breath is the air, but not the other way around, or we'd be in trouble, serious trouble. We are. Again, money does reign in the absolute with a prerogative to loot and to riot through our bodies, our food, our air, our homes, our communities on the quiet, rampaging on the QT, havocing money's insecurity into the lonely family, smashed and grabbed, youthful suicide slabbed. Polluting is not like looting our children's future. In no way does it resemble a riot. It is comparatively quiet. Let's go dancing in the streets and defy it.